wrapped up hauling those peas. They called and said they're full. So we're like, all right, nope, no more hauling there. Now it's time to put everything away. Got air drills there, air drill over there. Got trucks for fertilizer, truck for seed, augers everywhere, fertilizer augers. You do an operation, there's a lot of odds and ends that go and supply that operation. And well, winter wheat seeding operations, spraying operations are all pretty much done. So that means we need to put everything away. So heading over to the grain bin site. We're gonna clean up the grain spill that we had, finish putting all the seed back in the bin that was left over from the winter wheat seeding, pull a bunch of auger, conveyor, everything back to the yard over here, run all the small engines out of gas so they don't sit there during the winter. Probably use some of them, but I like to just run them out anyways. If they sit for a few months, even though it's non-ethanol, high octane fuel that we put in these, still, that gas just gets old. So sometimes it's nice just to run it dry, and then they start a lot better next time you go to run them. 4520's dead. I don't know. I think it usually doesn't go dead. We had power the other week, but for whatever reason, the battery is dead. So it must have been a short somewhere. So we're charging on it, but we're gonna add a little more juice, get this thing going. All right, 4520, come on. That thing's amazing. Good deal. All right, backhoe's first. I think that'll work. Now for a pin. Hey. Oh, that's convenient. I was pulling away and I got waved down by the guys and they're like, hey, we actually might use that conveyor. We've got winter wheat seed that we were using out of this bin right here. There's only about 200 or 300 bushel left in it, maybe 400 at most. That truck's got like 200 bushel in it. And instead of putting that back in there and tying up a 3,000 bushel bin with like 500 bushel of winter wheat seed, that bin on the end there holds 700 bushel. So we're like, well, let's get the conveyor set under there, finish on emptying that into the truck, then take the truck with this auger and put it in that little bin there. Make sense? So they're gonna handle that. I'm gonna grab the fertilizer auger. Let's take that back to the farm. Now, some might wonder, why are we taking all this stuff back to the yard every time we finish this stuff? Because, well, it's more likely only going to be used over at the bin site over here. So why are we taking it all over there? Well, I like to take them back home close to the shop, because if any of you guys have been around machinery, you know that when it sits for a little while and you go to use it, it might have worked just fine the last time you ran it, but it is amazing, Murphy's Law, something will be wrong. It'll be a flat tire, a bearing will just be out, the mice will have built a nest inside the engine somewhere, and the intake, you don't know. The fuel tank wasn't drained and leaks down into the oil pan because the carburetor float was stuck. There's all kinds of stuff that happens. So then you gotta take it and either try to work on it in the yard, or you can have it right next to the shop where you can pull right up at the beginning of the year when you're ready to use it and quickly just run through it in front of the shop, have all the tools right there and equipment necessary. So that's kind of why my logic to bringing stuff back to the main yard when it's sitting. Now, we don't have the luxury of having massive shops, cold storage at our location because we haven't generated enough revenue to be able to finance some of that stuff. But if that day comes, we definitely will. But we've got old buildings spread across the whole farm, old Quonsets, old shops from different farms that we've acquired over the years. So for the sake of putting equipment inside, some things do got to be put far away from our yard, and just to get them out of the elements and out of the mice and out of the random stray pieces of lead flying through the sky during hunting season. All right, well, let's drop this here because I want to, like I said, winterize it, get all the gas out of the carb and everything. Beautiful. All right, round two. This time they don't need it. I can get out of here with it. So how's my 6.2 been running? It's running really good, really good. Very little oil burn, very little oil burn. And it's good power, good mileage. But I'm still having cylinder one, the spark plug keeps fouling pretty bad by 2 times an oil change probably. So about half an oil change I go in and I pull it out and clean it off, put it back in. So I gotta fix, I'm pretty sure it's a leaky valve seal that's leaking a little bit of oil in along, and it's causing particles or carbon to build up on the spark plug, which isn't good because you get a bad spark, which lowers performance, and you possibly can get hot spots that create detonation. I think pre-detonation, detonation. Anyways, with all that, I gotta fix it. So, winter job. I'll just keep cleaning the plugs for now. We've been getting some gravel hauled on the site too. Really like to use some more gravel in some areas. That's always something we're trying to do. But now we're getting our bin yard fairly well established on how its layout's going to be. We'll know where our areas are that are going to be driven on the most, and so we're just going to keep kind of putting some gravel down here and there, get to points so that way we're not in a sloppy mess when they call and go, hey, we need grain, and we're like, oh. Oh, do they make tracks for trucks?
Good morning. All right, the plan is today we're going to grab our plow, chisel plow, and it's actually already hooked up to the 600 Big Bud. We just put the pin into the hitch. There's a tire that needs air, and I'm gonna go try to air that up. We'll wing it up, bring it over to the shop, we'll grease everything, check the shovels on it and see if they need to be replaced or moved around, and if it looks pretty decent and everything looks good, we're gonna go out and rip some ground that's pretty rough. We got about 250 acres, maybe 200, depending on what we want to rip, and it's just really rough. We just got to rip it. So we're gonna get that done, and then the idea that we're gonna do is after we rip it, we're going to use one of the air drills, which is actually hooked to the Series 2 Big Bud, the 5 1/4, and run that air drill through and just not seed it, but just run it through. And what it's going to do is it's going to kind of level it out a little bit. All the little plow rows that kind of get dirt moved up in a big bunch of grooves, and it'll just be rough. So what I'm trying to say is we're trying to level out the ground, make it smoother, because it's a nightmare to spray, it's a nightmare to run the combines through, and the best thing to do is just got to get iron to the ground and rip it. So that's our plan. Other than that, we got the air drills cleaned out, seed put away, augers put away, and a couple other things taken care of, and it's feeling good. We're getting close to the end of the long push, but we still have to keep pushing. Still got some stuff to do. But yeah, things are going good. Really happy about it. And we're making some plans for some upcoming projects this winter, so it should be very interesting. I think you guys are going to enjoy some of the stuff, and I'm not going to say anything about it. But you'll find out shortly. All right, I'm going to use the air on the Big Bud so I can fill up the tire. So let's start this thing and let it fill up the air tank. There we go. And I grabbed 2 air hoses because I didn't know if it's going to be long enough with one. It should be long enough with one, but just in case, I figured I better grab 2. Throw this air hose. That was a beautiful toss. Alright, the other end. Oh yeah, it's plenty long enough. There's the other end. And we'll go over here and so let me grab this end in case I need it. There we go. It says 90 PSI. I'll probably put 80. It's filling up. after tightening a couple bolts that need to be tightened, replaced a few things like shovels, greased and aired up the tires, make sure that they're good, we are good to go. So I'm going to take this 600 with our chisel plow and go rip some ground. Yeah, this thing, it's seen better days. It's definitely used. We bought it pretty used. Like it was used when we bought it, and we've used it too. So it's not pretty, but most of our stuff on our farm has been hand-me-downs multiple times before we get it. There's a reason for that, because we can afford it then. We need somebody to eat the initial cost of new, and then maybe another person buying it from them, so that we can be the third or fourth on the list to acquire that piece of machinery. That's about how it works around here. It's all good though. You learn a lot of things by working on used stuff.
All right, guys, I'm back with the Big Brute, and I've got some things I want to talk about with this Big Brute because, well, it's big and it's a brute, and we've done a lot to it the last few years. And I don't know if I ever fully showed some of these systems that we put on here, so I kind of want to go over some of these. They're amazing. I love the sprayer. Oh, this is just such a good sprayer. Let's just start with the boom. The tech that we're going to talk about is from our friends at Raven Industries. Raven's been a great company to work with. They make some outstanding products, and it just has transformed the sprayer. Without it, I don't know honestly if I can handle the sprayer without the systems I got here. And this is first system up. I'm going to show you is the Auto Boom, the XRT system. It's a 7-sensor system, and it has made my life so nice spraying. I sprayed for years manually running the booms. I had a 100-foot boom at the time, and every dip, every coulee, every washout, everything, I was pressing the button to raise and lower the boom along because I didn't have Auto Boom. And now we do, thanks to Raven. It is amazing. So let's show the system here. Here's one of the sensors right here. So it just detects the proximity to the ground, and it watches, and there's an algorithm as these sensors work together in unison, and it'll just kind of go, okay, oh, I need to go up a little bit, I need to go down a little bit, I need to keep that height, because whatever the predetermined height that you pick above your canopy of the crop, whether it's weeds or crop spraying or whatever you're doing, it'll try to maintain that, and it does a fantastic job. I mean, I can spray 12, 15 miles an hour, and it keeps up. If it's really level, I can spray way faster, but the 120-foot boom, it's amazing how fast it keeps up. It's unreal. So there's one right there. There's another one right here. And then we got another one right there. So there's 3 on each boom. Then there's a center sensor, one right here in the center, and then 3 that way. And along with that, there's also a sensor right here, as you can see, that's attached to the frame, the center section of the sprayer. And that tells it exactly how high up and down the boom has been raised and lowered. So as it raises, it pushes this arm here, pushes on that little arm there, turns the sensor or switches it inside here and says, hey, I moved up a little bit. And then all the position sensors out there, the height sensors will confirm, and they'll go together, work together and go, yeah, you went up this far, you went down this far. So there's one on each side, there and there. Then there's also another one, if I can find it here, right here, see? So we got another one, and that is because the center section can oscillate back and forth like this on pivots. I should say pivot, not oscillate, pivots. Pivots right there. So this sensor tells that information to the system. One more piece of the puzzle that's all in that algorithm that goes, okay, this has moved, that has moved, this has moved. You hit, that boom raises up a little bit, it's gonna cause this boom to dip down on this side. So this boom on this side is gonna have to raise up a little bit to counter that dip because of the forces of moving that 120-foot boom back and forth, and it's pivoting here. And that isn't even saying with the sprayer itself, as it's barreling down the field, hitting bumps and dips, because this truck's gonna go, bam, hits a dip. Okay, well now it's gonna throw that boom down into the ground. Well, the moment this truck drops, the boom has already started lifting, because it knows, it goes, oh, the truck just dipped down, I gotta correct for that. So it starts raising that, and that way, you're not dragging boom out there. Hidden up underneath the truck. Hey, hear that? I found my air leak. Oh, thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. I've been looking for that air leak for a while now. All right, back to what we're talking about. Right here is a roll sensor. So that is mounted level with the frame of the truck. So as the truck, like I was saying earlier, if it dips in a dip, a tire, a rut, whatever it may be, the ground starts turning, that sensor will go, uh-oh, the truck is starting to roll a little bit. I better start preparing for something that's coming because there's a good chance the truck's driving down a hill in a ditch. So let's raise the boom on that side a little bit to counter that, just to make sure we don't drag boom. And for just the stress level of spraying, I'll say the auto boom system by far it's worth it. It's just worth it. If you've got a sprayer and you don't have an auto boom system on it, highly recommend getting one on it. It is unreal how much it changes your spraying. All new sprayers have them, I know. I shouldn't say all. I think probably you can get them without them, but anything over 100 feet, you just got to have it. Now, on the back of this, we have a bunch of modules that were installed. There's one up here, and there's one right there. And those modules combined with a flow meter, which is, oh, it's over here actually. With this flow meter, work in unison, so they keep tabs on the product going out, and that's how you get your variable rate. And a lot of the auto boom systems and all that, it's all integrated together in those systems. And so that's the spraying side of things. Now, when you go to fill, we have this. A big flow meter here attached to this monitor. This counts the product going into the tank. So as you're filling, that says, hey, you got 786 gallons put in that tank. And that then connects to your Viper, which is in the cab, and puts a icon up there that gives you your gallons in your tank and how fast it is being taken out. So that way you can keep an accurate tab of how much did you actually put in that tank and how much is going out. Now with the sprayer, we used to have a Trimble system in it. It was like an Easy Pilot, I think is what they called it. And it would overheat. It didn't hold the line very well. It worked, but it wasn't great. And the monitor we had wasn't enough horsepower to run all these systems. And so we swapped all that out for the Raven system. And I'll touch more on that in a bit about the swap. But we went integrated auto steer. So no longer is the steering column driving the steering of this sprayer. There's an integrated system. So we're using this hydraulic block here with all these solenoids connected to this arm. This tells the position of the steer axle. So this arm, as it goes in and out, real simple, but does a lot, very important. And that tells the degrees of what angle is this front tire at. So the computer can then go, okay, I'm going this way. Now that system combined with your receiver, GPS receiver. And that's talking all the systems too. And that is working with that steer position sensor and that hydraulic valve body to go, okay, with the satellites in space, talking to 10, 11 of them at a time, and they go, hey, you're right here, but you're drifting this far off the line that was preset. And the steering indicator goes, oh, well, your steering's, I don't know, 3 degrees off from center. Okay, well, let's turn them back 5 degrees to intercept that line again. The receiver goes, yep, you're intercepting that line. Okay, take that 5 degrees, reduce it to 4 degrees, reduce it to 3 degrees, reduce it to 2 degrees, 0 degrees. All right, we're back on straight on that line. Does that make sense? This is such a dumb version of this, but the guys that really know the terminology and how this all works are probably shaking their heads at me. But no, this is just a real basic view of how all these systems work together. It's amazing. And all these systems talk to each other. It's remarkable that literally pieces of silicone and aluminum and gold and solar panels screaming across the sky at thousands of miles an hour way up there are helping me do my job down here. And GPS has been around forever, but it's still amazing. All right, so we're inside Big Brute's cab. As you can see, the Easy Pilot's gone. Now we've got nice integrated auto steer. The old Trimble monitor's gone. Got our beautiful Viper 4, my favorite monitor. Love this thing, Viper 4 Plus. So here's our screen. Right now, as you can see, this is the auto boom. These are each of the sensors on the booms. Right now, that's 30 inches, 28, 26, 24, 27, 38, 44. And that's the height of the ground up there. So if I raise and lower the boom, 45, 86, 85, 72, 88, 91. So I raise that boom up, so now it's indicating that. Let's lower it down. You can turn on auto mode, and I can adjust sensitivity, the height, the crop level. What kind of crops am I in? Am I in really tall crop, or am I in really short stubble? A lot of options there, really nice. We've got all your rate control, really nice. Easy tank level, it says 0 right now. Gallons a tank, acres you can spray, acres per hour. Your target rate, your sections of your sprayer, I can turn on and off the switches, so I can turn the valves open and close them. Per switches, there's 5 sections on the sprayer. It's go to auto guidance. Here's where we can adjust our steering sensitivity, how well it tracks to a line, intercepts a line. That's line acquisition. Speed response, how fast is the motor, or does it try to turn? Integrated auto steer systems are really fast. They can whip on quick. See how many satellites we're talking to? Right now we're talking to 9. Current accuracy is 25 inches. It's getting better as it acquires more satellites. We've also got a lot of telematics on here. We've got Wi-Fi and cellular. So if this thing needs to connect to, say, Slingshot, you can actually send your data to the cloud while you're out in the field, as long as you have cellular connection. Or if you pull in your yard, you can dump it through Wi-Fi. Or if you need help diagnosing something, you can have someone remote in and work on it through the Slingshot. It's a pretty cool system. Now, as a lot of you know, we have a Weet system on the sprayer. The Weet system's been amazing. And that does all the nozzle control. There's solenoids for every nozzle. The Weet system controls that. But it works hand in hand with the Raven systems. Now, Raven does offer a nozzle control system. Doesn't have the sensors that the Weet has, but you can have that. But because we have the Weet, it has the Weet PWMs, or pulse width modulator solenoids on the nozzles. Now, I haven't in a while. I'm going to pull the data on a thumb drive. I like thumb drives, off of this Viper and put it on my computer. So let's copy all of that and export it to the thumb drive. There we go. And that way we can look at that data on the PC. That's always nice to have, and for backup too, for records. Now, will there be more added to Big Brute? I don't know. But for right now, it's made quite a sprayer out of this thing, and I don't know, I haven't kept track of all my hours, but I've got to have well over 300 hours in this sprayer this season alone. So yeah, I put a lot of time into this. And every time I go to drive a different sprayer, I just think to myself how much I like Big Brute. Just all these systems, when they work so well. So if you've got an old system in your sprayer, your combine, whatever it may be, you can pull it out right now, take it into Raven, and they'll give you up to 50% off a new system from Raven up into the end of the year, which is December 31st. So get on it, pull that old system out, do what we did, trade it in, put that money towards a much better system.
Okay, well, I have a project that shouldn't be too difficult. What it is this is my daughter's car, about a 2011 Regal, Buick Regal, and happened a couple months ago during harvest. She wanted to come and ride on the combine, and we were cutting right next to a kind of abandoned county road, but kochia, the weeds, had kind of grown up in the middle, and so she was heading up to ride with me, and she was heading up there. If it wouldn't have been for the weeds, she would have missed it, but she was kind of straddling where the wheel washout or the road wear is, so you have the middle up a little higher. But evidently it must have been a rock from a truck or whatever that kicked up. And when she did go across that rock must just tapped the oil cover, rolled, and then punched a hole right up in the oil pan. Well, when she realized and she heard that big crash, as far as the oil pan, she coasted down and then shut the oil light came on, and she shut it down. So there is no damage to the engine. It wasn't running that long at all. But of course, with that kind of a hole, it pours out. It dumped it quickly. So I do have an oil pan, and I got time now to drop this oil pan. So that's the job. And what I understand is that the dipstick could be your biggest issue. Just trying to get it to separate from the pan. Some had to take the dipstick off with the pan. But other than that, it's just a matter of a bunch of bolts. And what's interesting is I went and I tried to look for a gasket, an oil pan gasket for this engine. And they don't make oil pan gaskets. They use sealant as a gasket, using a gasket sealant material. And so I'll just put some gasket sealing material on there and put it back up, put some oil in it, and I think she's good to go. So we'll see what kind of a project that is. All right. Well, first things first is drain the oil, right? Okay, what is that? The oily bird gets the worm? No. Now, all right, so had to take a couple bolts out of the air conditioning compressor because one bolt is hooked onto it. So I loosened it up so the pan won't be against the pan. Now I just have about 7 of those pan bolts. These 2, and then there's one here. I took this last one out, and it's come out now. I need to work this off, so let me go get some vice grips and see if I can wiggle it back and forth enough to work it out. There it comes. All right, got that off. Let's pull the pan. Oh, okay, it's just barely on the, there we go. Okay, man, my hands are a little oily, but that's the indentation. A little crease, just a divot. Maybe just a little crease. It does come with the oil suction screen. That was a gasket there. Let's clean it. I got to get it all cleaned up.